Well, welcome to the last tackle inside England of the Rugby League World Cup. Now, unfortunately, our men's and women's teams suffered heartbreak in the semi-finals at the weekend, but we are inside the team hotel for the wheelchair team, preparing for a massive World Cup final against France at Manchester Central on Friday. Delighted to be joined by head coach Tom Coyd. Tom, big week.
Yeah, big week. Our focus has been in the moment for us and the team because not many World Cup final weeks come around, so we want to enjoy it, and I think that's going to help us perform well on Friday.
But World Cup's a few weeks old in that sense, but you've been preparing for this for a long, long time, haven't you?
Yeah. For me, I've been a part of the coaching staff since the start of 2018, and we obviously worked toward this World Cup for longer than we thought we needed to, with that extra 12 months coming in. But for the players as well, they've been playing this sport, some of them like 20 years, without any promise of playing in an event like this with this much exposure and this much fanfare. So it's a really nice prize for them, for all their hard work in the shadows.
This is obviously World Cups are unique for loads of reasons, but especially for you guys, getting to spend this much time together in camp, having this much time to be able to focus on training and all that detail you must be able to go into, very different to kind of the one-off test matches and training sessions that you've had.
Yeah, it's like being a professional team, and there's no replacement for spending time in each other's pockets, and there really haven't been any downsides like people kind of getting tired of each other. I think because it's been an England World Cup, we've had an opportunity to stop at home for 99% of the guys, and that broke it up enough to a point where we weren't sick of being around each other, and relationships have intensified to a degree that I probably didn't even see coming, and we're the most connected we've ever been as a squad, and it's feeding into our play on the pitch.
That is one of the things I picked up on watching your team, even when you've been a lot of points ahead against teams. Every try, conversion, every little win on the field is celebrated as if it was the winning try of the game. Your team seemed kind of really on board with each other and really tight-knit group.
Yeah, that's one of the team's values that the players drew up and all signed up to at the start of this cycle, is celebrating all the wins, because no one's going to celebrate them for you, and you've got to be your own best cheerleader sometimes, because we know that from being involved in Wheelchair Rugby League, we've been shouting the name of this game from the rooftops for so long because we believe in it, and it's finally starting to get the platform where people are recognising how good it is. So those guys are used to celebrating their own work, celebrating each other's work, and now other people are picking up on that and doing it for us, which is great.
Yeah, Wheelchair Rugby League kind of felt like sport's best kept secret until that Thursday night a couple of weeks ago on the BBC, where we saw you guys play Australia, and then all of a sudden trending fourth in the UK on Twitter, loads of media coverage. Did you kind of expect it to catch fire in the way that it has done?
I said before that I didn't have any expectations because then I can't be disappointed. I didn't want to expect packed out crowds and loads of media attention and then it not come, because that would have been a distraction to our tournament. Not for myself, but for the players. Like if we'd come into this talking about like how interested in us everyone else was going to be. So our focus has been really internal and obviously on our performance indicators and enjoying it for ourselves. So the exposure's been a brilliant bonus, to be fair, and we're going to have to keep playing well to make sure that we maintain that, and hopefully the success that we've had from outside interest is going to continue to help us grow the sport now.
Well, one game left. It's a pretty big one. France in a World Cup final. The two best Wheelchair Rugby League teams in the world on the big stage. Obviously, you're expecting a real tough match, but what are you expecting from your team in this game?
We're the calmest and most composed we've ever been as a group, and we played France in the 2 Test match series last November, and the average age of the team at that stage was like 26, going up against a France team whose average age is like pushing 40, 45. So straight away there you're looking at a generational gap where they're bringing their kind of life experiences into making sure that they can stay composed on the pitch. Now, our boys have matured an incredible amount over the last 18 months, and the life experiences that they've had on the pitch, like with the Betfred sponsorship of the Wheelchair Super League, it's elevated us to be able to play our grand finals on stuff like the BBC, on Sky Sports. You know, they're used to playing on a big stage now, and that means that they're in a really good position to be able to handle the pressure on Friday.
We saw obviously your opening game against Australia. Certainly the first half of that was extremely fast, very intense. France have blown teams away. They've looked an extremely quick and intense team. You're not going to have the opportunity in this game to kind of take your foot off the gas at any point. Is that going to be the key? The winner of this game will be whichever team coaches the intensity and the speed better.
Yeah, definitely. It's cup final football, and typically what happens in those games is there's a couple more errors where those passes would normally go to hand. There's a few less refereeing decisions because they don't want to be the star of the show in a bad sense and get called out for making the wrong decisions. So the whistle tends to go in the pocket, and it's all about how well you can control the ruck, so you can dictate tempo, and how well you can look after possession when you've got it. And we've been building towards that kind of performance each game so far. Like, we're definitely trending in that direction. If you look at how well we've looked after the ball with each kind of progressing game, we've got better and better. Our defence has been our best asset throughout the whole tournament. I think we've let in less than 50 points in 4 games, which is a lot less than any other team in the competition. So, yeah, I'm expecting a really composed performance on Friday.
Well, Tom, we're going to let you go. I know you've got a lot on in the next couple of days preparing for this game, but best of luck.
Thank you.
We're all behind you. It's a massive night on Friday, the Wheelchair Rugby League World Cup final, England versus France. And it's been a pretty big year here on the Sportsman Rugby League as well.
Still going Simpson, another charge and Simpson will score.
Hello and welcome back to the Women's Rugby League Show.
Well, there's always something on, but Stanley's got the ball. How about that?
Well, thank you as ever for joining us here on the Sportsman Rugby League and The Last Tackle. It is all coming down to this.
Well done, Tyndall underneath that. Now off he goes. Tyndall is away. The cover comes across. Jay Field is there, but Tyndall has almost got away. Great work from Jay Field.
There's something on this weekend that should fill folk with intrigue. British Army versus Royal Navy in Challenge Cup Rugby League.
Well, welcome back to The Last Tackle. We are at the England Wheelchair Rugby League team hotel ahead of the World Cup final against France on Friday. Joined now by Jack Brown and Carl Amor. Carl, you've been covering plenty of games across this World Cup of the wheelchair. How excited are you to see these boys against France on Friday?
Massively, you know, before going into this tournament, this was the game that everybody expected throughout the world of wheelchair rugby league. You know, France v England, number 1 v number 2, and it's certainly delivered the competition. You know, right from that very first day in the copper box. I think it's amazing that the competition's burst into light, and so many of the viewers now, and you know, you'll have felt it, Jack, right throughout the game, people recognising these players and appreciating what they're actually doing as well. So it's been phenomenal. I can't wait. One more big game.
Yeah, Jack, your life must feel relatively insane at the moment. You're in a World Cup final via Halifax and Australia. Now you're in this position and you're building up to the biggest game of your life on Friday. What's the feeling like?
A little bit of disbelief, sort of. We knew it was going to be a big tournament. We knew it was going to be special, but I don't think we was fully ready for how special it was going to be and how much coverage and how much positive reinforcement we was going to get from that. And it's actually been really beneficial for the team. It sort of lifted us a lot, and sort of the pressures sort of carried us through a lot of the games, really.
The big selling point of this tournament going into it was 3 World Cups taking place at once, the most inclusive World Cup ever, and it has been. But have you felt part of that kind of wider event, or is it just been you focusing on whatever your next game is?
There's always a strong focus on what our job is in camp and what we have to do on the field and stuff. But we've been following all of the men's games, all of the women's games. We watch them here in our team room. We've had mentions from the coaches on their side as well, sort of thing. So it has felt like really has been included in this World Cup. We're not just here as a token.
But Carl, we've been covering and talking about rugby league for a few years, but wheelchair rugby league for a few years, that is. But there's almost, have you had kind of the same joy as I have watching everybody else discover wheelchair rugby league for the first time?
Yeah, for sure. Look, I mean, I've been involved in this game for the best part of 2 seasons now, and I've said that it's rugby league's best kept secret, and I think everybody now are buying into it. I think one thing that was brilliant to see, that the fact that the semi-finals were going to be originally shown on the iPlayer and they got switched across to mainstream TV, and then that's just because of the appreciation of what you guys are doing. And I just think back to when, after the grand final last year, Halifax v Leeds, I actually said, I think it might have been to Seb Bashara and Nathan Collins, I actually said to them, are you aware that you guys, I believed at the time, were the best chance of a home nation lifting a World Cup? And we're here now, aren't we? The wheelchair team are the only one out of that umbrella of Brand England who are in the final. For me, how excited are you? And does that pressure now of people really enjoying the game and watching the game, do you guys feel it?
There's definitely a sense of pressure, but like I say, it sort of carries us. I think we've been playing at this level for a long time, and the focus has always been this World Cup and us winning this World Cup. We've narrowly missed out the last 2 times, and yeah, they've been heartbreak, but we've never been in a better situation. We've never had more funding behind us. We've never had more, push from staff, and everything from nutrition to mindfulness to even just the media it's just make us feel more and more professional. It's just another day at the office as usual, but it's what we've got to do.
You mentioned that word professional there. Is that something that you hope in time can happen for the wheelchair game? Yeah,
hopefully. I don't doubt in my time, but I do see it happening. We've seen it with the women. It's starting to happen. Leeds have talked about starting to go semi-professional, professional in their clubs. So it's not impossible for the wheelchair sport, and it's got. We've definitely got there's a market for it, and I think people want to see more of wheelchair rugby league. And if more brands and more people want to get behind it and they want to see more wheelchair rugby league, if they back it some more, then there's nothing to say they can't be.
France on Friday in the World Cup final. I was thinking about this a little bit earlier. Obviously, an ongoing rivalry between yourselves and France, and England versus France in any sport has got a bit of bite to it. But I can't think of a rivalry in international sport at the moment where you've got 2 teams that are at such a top level, top intensity in their field, going up against each other, and we get it in a World Cup final on Friday.
Yeah, well, all of the previous World Cup finals, bar the first one, have been England-France, and every single game has been within 4 points at the end, and they've always been down to the last second. So it's it just
I think that there, it doesn't need to sell it anymore, does it really? The fact that this is the 4th time these 2 sides have met. It's 2-1 to France in terms of World Cups. It's come down to 4 points each and every time. And for me, looking across the players, there's nothing that really splits the 2 sides, is there? This is just going to want to come down to who can execute the best and who wants it just a little bit more, and can't wait.
One of the things you talk about separating the 2 sides, and I agree that there's nothing between them, and you'll know what this is like a little bit from playing the running game and being in that St Helens side, Carl, is that you guys go out with your starting 5 and the intensity and the speed is at this level. But because of the strength of the bench, it just doesn't drop, does it? Whoever's coming on for you guys is maintaining or raising that level again.
Yeah, I think we have struggled with depth in the past. We've always had a strong side sort of thing. In France, not taking anything away from them, they've always got a strong depth of field on their team. But I think our depth on the bench at the moment, and our strategy going into all of our games and things like that, I think we can just keep raising the bar throughout the game. So it's going to be really interesting, this final, and I think it is going to go down to the wire, but fingers crossed for us to take it past the line.
Carl, you've, throughout this commentary, throughout the World Cup, we've seen the response to Wheelchair Rugby League on social media, and more media picking up on it. I think I've already probably used the phrase best kept secret in this show 4 or 5 times, but there's an opportunity Friday, isn't there, for these boys to not just create history within their own sport of Wheelchair Rugby League, but to do something for rugby league in this country.
Yeah.
To take it forward a step.
Yeah, definitely. Look, and I've always said, doing the bits of media I've been doing, that the players are the ones who write the story. You know, we just get to show it and say it out loud, and what a story they've wrote. You know, and I think the whole nation is buying into it, aren't they? You know, everybody's really enjoying it, and and part of them being in a World Cup is leaving a legacy behind. And you know, whether you're doing the running game or you know, or it's men's, women's, or wheelchair, the part of your job, whether you like it or not, is to impact the future generations on playing the sport. And you know, these guys have got such an opportunity. You know, you see now Salford have launched a wheelchair team. There's going to be other nations joining. You know, I think speaking to John downstairs, he was on about Norway coming into it, and other nations are now starting to pick up, and clubs as well. And that's only because of what these guys have been doing. The impact that they've had over the last couple of weeks has been huge, and it can't be undersold. You know, one more push and a World Cup would certainly boost the sport even more, for sure.
How difficult has it been for you guys to be kind of laser focused just on 80 minutes of rugby league on Friday, with all of the hype and the talk about it? And you know, you get people like me and Kyle turning up and talking about how great Wheelchair Rugby League is. It is great, but you guys have got a job to do.
Yeah, I think we've known this sport's great for a long time, and we've been saying the same things for years. And it's just a real honour for the likes of you guys to be able to come and notice that and push that as well. In terms of our focus, we're keyed in. We know what we've got to do. We've got our game plan. We've got a lot of great staff behind us putting in the effort and working out what we need to do. Seb Bishara put it perfect yesterday when he won the Golden Boot, and they're trying to ask him how he felt, and all he said was, I can't really think anything else other than Friday at the moment, so I'll ask me later, which sort of sums up the mood in the camp of we just want to get stuck in, we want to get going, we want to get against them.
I think that, sorry Lou, I think that's the key as well, because we saw in the copper box how nervous, you know, it was nervous energy, wasn't it, against Australia. Didn't particularly start the game that well. Yeah. And I think that's perhaps a lesson going forward, that, you know, for this World Cup final, there's going to be a whole host of emotions in that camp as soon as you enter onto that field. You know, what, as a former Golden Boot winner and as an experienced player, Jack, what are you saying to the likes of lads who haven't been in this situation before? You know, you've played in a number of World Cup finals. What are you saying to the likes of Rob Hawkins and people like that?
For me, I think the strongest thing when it comes to finals and big games like that is just your prep. So not to change anything drastic in your prep, but make sure that you get a walkout before the game started, before the crowds are filled, get a sort of visualisation of, you know, what's the noise going to be like, get around the pitch, sort of have a look at the lines, don't get like sort of pulled into it that way. And I think once you know what an idea of what's to come, you don't really think about it then, and you can really focus down and push your chair, as we say to each other, and just get your go over the line and just really focus in. And they're all smart. They're all too good, to be honest. Our boys, they know what they're doing. They've showed it already at the copper box. It was stupid loud. It was hard to hear each other at times, but they managed to get through it, and they managed to show some real class in how they played. So I'm not worried about any of the young boys being able to perform on the day.
There's just one thing I want to pick up on before we let you go, before we wrap up, Jack. I was there on Sunday for the semi-finals in Sheffield, and you scored a try, and someone turned around to me and said, that's his 50th try. So I thought, oh, for England, that's some record. 50th in World Cups, which is just like insane to think about. I'm assuming that if you win the World Cup on Friday night, that all those personal accolades will just kind of fade into the background.
Yeah, we don't usually get this many stats thrown our way, sort of thing. So a lot of things that we've found out from this tournament, like Al-Azhar, I think he scored the most tries in one World Cup game ever, sort of thing. All these records and things that are happening is something that we've never thought of before, and it's nice to know them. It's some good media for it, sort of thing. But you know, at the end of the day, there's only one thing we want, and it's to lift the trophy.
Well, best of luck on Friday night. We're all behind you, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers, Jack.
Thank you for joining us, Jack. And just quickly as well, thank you to everyone who's tuned in to the Last Tackle throughout the World Cup, but throughout this remarkable Rugby League season here on the Sportsman. It's been an absolute pleasure. There's one big game left for our England Wheelchair Rugby League side on Friday. It's the World Cup final against France. Don't miss it.